Welcome everyone to this week's Flash Friday Finance Update. I'm Louise Lucas from the Property Education Company. Thank you so much for listening in. And I am delighted this week to introduce to you the wonderful Lawrence Hugo. Lawrence is from the Credit Mediation. That's correct, isn't it?
That is correct. And Louise, I've known you for years. And why is it this is the first time I'm hearing about this awesome podcast?
Well, I send out a message to our clients, and I know you've helped numerous clients of mine to huge satisfaction where people were under threat of losing houses or their whole financial future was in disarray, and Lawrence has saved them. So I can't recommend you enough. And I am delighted because Lawrence put out a newsletter recently that said, how to escape mortgage prison.
Mortgage prison.
Yeah, and so today I would love you to talk to people about how do you escape the mortgage prison. So tell us a bit more, first up, maybe about your business and how you operate and what you do.
So we're credit mediation service, and the core feature of our service is that we put our clients in a better financial position than what we found them in. Now, we're not mortgage brokers. We don't facilitate loans. What we do is we look at our clients' financial profile in terms of their debts, and we negotiate with their creditors to reduce those debts to a lower figure. What that looks like would depend on who they have a loan with and what their profile, our client's profile looks like. So we'll use certain features in our client's profile, such as, income, the usual stuff like income, expenditure, asset liability, but also other factors that's going on, the relationship they have with their banks, their financial circumstances. We'll have a deep dive in that. And there's a galaxy of different circumstances that we could potentially use to then leverage with their bank to reduce the payout. So a client might owe $50,000 on credit cards and personal loans. We could bring that down to maybe $10,000 within a few weeks of negotiation. Yeah. So that's essentially what we do. We save money for it.
Yeah. So what you're helping people is people who've found themselves getting into strife with their mortgage and credit cards and they haven't maybe got the opportunity to refinance them out, will come to you and get assistance reducing what they owe, just getting the debt wiped, and then they can keep going and manage better forward.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically it's second level lotto win. They're going to, within a few weeks, reduce their payout figures by anywhere between 50% to 80%.
Yeah, that's amazing.
On their debts. So it's all without a negative impact.
And I know you've helped with clients of mine who've ended up buying properties from years ago in the mining boom, and then they were disastrous properties sold through property spruikers, and they've lost hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you've helped the debts been wiped at the bank. So that's an amazing outcome.
Yeah, and the unique aspect to that particular client is that normally with the negotiations, it's a few weeks of negotiations. But in this particular case, it was 12, 18 months. So we didn't give up. We just pressed and pressed and pressed and pressed and pressed and pressed. And it's a squeaky wheel effect. And eventually the bank gave up and they agreed. Because we identified the soft spot and we pressed and pressed and pressed and pressed.
That's fabulous. And I know the results, they speak. So tell us first up, what does your service cost for people?
Well, 30% of our business is pro bono.
Wow.
So
you are so generous, mate.
Well, how do you say no to someone who's dying of cancer and they've got a huge amount of debt that's worrying them? And the last thing when you're fighting cancer is worrying about money. You don't want to do that. And so they call up and say, can you help? How do you charge a fee? Particularly if they have no money. And we do a lot of pro bono for age pensions and so on. But aside from that, we're a no win, no fee service. So there's no commitment to the process, and we'll charge 22% 5 years savings. So if we waive 10 grand, it'll be 22.
Great. So it's no win, no fee, and you go fight the good fight. And then if you get a win, then everyone wins. So that's really super.
Right. Yeah, exactly right. However long it takes.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. So let's talk about, for the average person now, they're escaping mortgage prison, because everyone's feeling a bit like a prisoner at the moment with interest rates rocking up, and they're expected to continue at the moment with all the inflationary pressures around, and then thinking this is the only thing they can do. What do people, like, we're getting clients who are, their new repayment has gone up, you know, $1,500 a month, $2,000 a month. You know, it's an insane amount to try and think, well, where am I going to find this? You know, so
That's tough.
it's really tough. So it's very scary for people. So what do you suggest people do to how to escape mortgage prison and feeling, you know, under the pinch like this?
Well, firstly, I want to say it's okay. We're living under this expectation that when we refinance and pay our debts out, and we've heightened our mortgage balance, and there's an expectation that the values are just going to increase and increase and increase, because that's what has always happened. Well, it hasn't exactly always happened. It has happened like 30 or 40 years, but prior to that, you know, it was fairly stagnant. But you have this, we're under this false sense of safety, where we feel that the rates are going to stay low and the property valuations are going to increase, and it'll be okay. But, you know, it hasn't ended up like that, unfortunately. What do we do about it? The first thing to do, the very first thing to do, is reassess your budget. Don't call a negotiator, because it might be that you don't have a financial hardship problem, you might have a budgeting problem.
Mm-hmm.
So, and
So
that'll
big
mean
budget problems you see when you're assessing people. I mean, I see a lot of people spending money that they probably don't need to. If I go through your accounts, you'll know. Like a lot of Menulog, Uber Eats, you know, lots of frivolous things that you can, we were talking about this feel-good factor from doing this. It sort of feels like you're compensating yourself by spending money on things you really shouldn't be.
exactly right. I mean, we had a case with a client, with this particular client, we went through their budget, and he was spending, and he was on high income. Him and his wife were professionals, and they were high income, but they were experiencing financial hardship. So why is that the case? As it turns out, going through their budget, they're spending $5,000 a month on horses.
Horses?
So on horses, okay. Look at gisting and vets and bits and bobs, you know, all that. It's very expensive, as I discovered. It's like boats. Very expensive having horses, right?
Clients sell your boat.
I don't want a boat. No. I've seen clients go into bankruptcy because they owned a boat. One guy said it's just a hole in the ocean of money. That's all it is. And so I contacted this client and said, I see your problem. You're spending $5,000 a month on horses. And he said, Lawrence, I have 2 teenage daughters. I'd rather them have horses than boyfriends. Okay, I got it.
Okay.
Right. But
it's a lifestyle choice, yeah.
Lifestyle choice. But it demonstrates the point. It's the budgeting meme. It's not really about how much you earn. It's about what you spend. Mm-hmm. And so the first place to answer your question, in a long way around, first place to start is revisit your budget. And a good way, and there's lots of online software, free software you can go to download onto your computer to do your budget, or you can just simply use Excel, right, on your computer. But a good way to do it, a good place to start.
Later, actually, on our website. So go right.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. Call the
government, have a look, and it's really good.
Yeah.
And the other place I recommend people look is Money Smart.
Money Smart's fantastic.
Yeah. The government site. That's
exactly right. But what you do is download all your bank statements for 6 months, and then highlight all the discretionary spending. Like, okay, you might spend, say, $256 on the water bill. That's a must. That's okay. And your mortgage payments, electricity, your food, etc., etc. But highlight the McDonald's, highlight the Toys R Us, or highlight the gym memberships, highlight the etc., 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 and categorize them all and put them, and you'll see over 6 months what you've been spending. A case in point, and I did this with a client not too long ago. He was buying a coffee in the morning, coffee and morning tea, coffee at lunch, coffee in the afternoon tea, etc., etc. $5 a pop. That's like $25. He was spending like $15 on his lunch, $20 on lunch. That's $45. He was spending nearly $50 a day just
On nothing.
Instead, he just could have used the coffee machine in his office and bought his lunch. But $50 a day, that's $250 a week, $1,000 a month.
Mm-hmm.
Just on, right? There's $1,000, right? So, and that's just a simple demonstration by breaking down your spending habits, and you will discover, oh my gosh, this is what I'm doing, and this is why I'm not able to save money.
Yeah.
Right. So the first place to start, budget.
That's such good advice. And I know it's not fun. We get it, but we've done it ourselves. You've got to do it. It's a really good exercise to do.
Well, it's like seeing a psychologist. You see a psychologist, and the psychologist gives you feedback in time. Well, Lawrence, this is what your problem is. Blah, 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 blah. Oh my gosh. And no self-awareness around all this. Well, doing a budget creates that financial self-awareness of where the money is actually.
Fabulous. No, that's super tip. What's your next tip have you got for us?
Okay, the next tip is, as you've done the budget, we might realize, okay, well, I've got to pull back on the spending. So I've got to cancel some of the magazine subscriptions. I'm guilty of this. You subscribe to something online and then you forget about it. And it's taking $2.50 out every single month or $60 a year, or cancel all of that. If you don't use it, cancel it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, okay, so do I need to be, I go to the gym once every 2 weeks. Do I really need that gym membership? Maybe I can do something else. I can go for a run, right? Or whatever. But start pulling back on the spending. The next step is, if I've done all of that and I'm still in a bit of financial trouble, there's 2 directions to go in. Right. If I no unsecured debt, no credit cards, it's just the mortgage and nothing else, I can approach my mortgage provider through the broker, through Louise, to see if I can negotiate on the rate. So if I've got a budget deficit of, a few $100s, or I'm right on the button every single month, or a small surplus, I really need to do something, because that small surplus is not enough, because a big dentist bill comes in and I'm in trouble. I've got to do it. So I've got to contact the bank and see if I can negotiate on the rate. Right? Maybe they'll take off 0.1, 0.2, maybe they will, maybe they won't, but it's worth doing. Okay.
Absolutely.
And a good chunk of customers actually do that. So that's great. If I've got unsecured debt, then perhaps it's time I'd be looking at refinancing, consolidating. Oh, hang on a second. I'm a mortgage prisoner. I can't do that. So because once I apply for a loan with another bank, they're going to do a serviceability calculation and work out that I can't technically afford a new loan, a consolidation loan, right? And why is that? Well, Louise, because they build in that buffer zone, that buffer of 3% on the repayments. So they anticipate future rate increases and assume that monthly payments will be higher than it actually is at the moment, and will calculate your serviceability on that heightened amount.
Really excited by. I love being able to help people like this. Now, people get low though. They feel a bit embarrassed about asking you to help reduce debt because they feel guilty. They put themselves into the debt, and they feel responsible for it. So how would you suggest they deal with that? Because people psychologically, it's a big deal,
But we all get into debt, and debt has a function. You shouldn't be embarrassed about it. And sometimes we all make mistakes. We all do make mistakes.
We all make mistakes.
All of us. And it's so much easier when we speak to a specialist who can give us what we need, and we just make the mistake and say, you know what, I stuffed up. I did this and I'm really silly. But and usually the response is, okay, everyone does that. It's perfectly fine. Let's see how we can fix it. Mm-hmm. And suddenly I'll sleep at night.
Yeah,
will sleep at night.
how true is that? And then you can go on and be more productive too, you know, with what you
Right.
get.
It's a huge burden off the shoulder.
Totally right. People have paid like through the nose for these credit cards for years and years and years. They've been paying so much interest and they haven't even had the benefit of using the card of, you know, oftentimes of more recent times because they've maxed it out. And I find like it's not like the banks are losing, babe, you know, you just like, in this country, our banks are doing, there's no one falling over in Australia. You're a cancer survivor, aren't you?
I am. Yes, I am. And yeah, and you know, positive prayer and positive mental attitude, and throw yourself into the other, throw yourself into the people that's around you. You know,
That's great.
there's a palliative care nurse, Bonnie Ware. She wrote a book, The 5 Regrets of the Dying. And the number one thing, you don't regret when you're on your deathbed. You don't regret, oh, I wish I spent more time in the office. I wish I'd made more money. You're going to regret, I wish I spent more time with the people around. And that's the best medicine for anyone, no matter what.
And you don't need to do that with the thing that often breaks people down is that worry about money. You know, if they're spending all their time worried about money, that's not living, you know, so that's why you need to reach out to us. So I'll put Lawrence's details in the notes and I'd love you to call him and just have a chat. Please take advantage of this opportunity because he does amazingly awesome work. He's saved people's bacon so many times and I can't be more grateful. So that's why I'm so keen to promote what you do. So thank you. And there's good practical advice here too for everyone. So one final tip have you got?
I like what you said, save the bacon. I suddenly feel like bacon.
Yeah, I know. Oh.
Louise, I'm doing this intermittent fasting at the moment. You had to mention bacon.
Did you not hear that joke that about, you know, we used to have Bob Hope, Steve Jobs and Johnny Cash. Bob Hope, Steve Cash and Johnny Cash. And now we've got no hope, no jobs and no cash. Please don't let them take Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, don't let them take Kevin Bacon. But you know, Bob Hope's still here. We're just laughing and we're telling jokes, so he's still here in spirit, isn't he? Final tip. Final tip is don't be afraid to ask for help and enjoy life. Enjoy life and just give yourself to the other. I know that's much more touchy-feely than financial, but you know, just don't be afraid to reach out to people in life, whatever it is and the needs that you have. Don't be afraid to reach out, and that's including financial needs. Totally. Find the specialists that you need, ask lots of questions, and go with your gut.
Yeah, brilliant. That's brilliant advice. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time today, Lawrence, and I look forward to reading more and hearing more. And I know you do and help my clients enormously. So thank you very much. Take care.
Always. Great talking.
You too.
God bless. Bye-bye.